Mr. President.
Senator from North Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to support the USMCA, the United States-Mexico-Canadian Agreement, along with my colleagues, and you've heard a number of them already. You'll hear more, and it's compelling. It's time to act. We're ready to go. This legislation has to start in the House under fast track, so we need the House to move forward, and there's no question that the bipartisan support is there. The bipartisan support is here in the Senate, and the bipartisan support is there in the House as well. It's just a matter of bringing the legislation to the floor and getting it passed. The benefits of this agreement are very clear. It will increase exports, expand consumer choice, raise wages, and boost innovation throughout North America, and especially here in the United States. As an analysis by the U.S. International Trade Commission found that USMCA will raise GDP by nearly $63 billion and create 176,000 jobs in the United States. So it's clear, we need to move forward. The agreement will secure and expand market access for our ag products for an ag state like mine. It will grow our manufacturing base for manufacturing states like Ohio, the good senator here to my right. It will provide important modernizations for our technology sector for states like the presiding officer state, certainly a high-tech state. And it will solidify the United States as the global energy leader. We are now, as you know, exporting energy in a bigger way than we ever have before, and this just builds on that momentum. These are all significant wins for our states individually and for this country as a whole. And the ag, which of course is, as I say, is certainly a big issue for us in North Dakota, the USMCA really makes an important difference and a helpful difference for us in agriculture. For the last 50 years, our country has had an ag trade surplus, and our farmers and ranchers can outcompete anyone in the world. They produce the highest quality, lowest cost food supply in the world, and we have a positive balance of trade in ag. And we need these types of trade agreements in place to continue that positive balance in our ag trade. My state, for example, we shipped $4.5 billion worth of ag products around the globe in 2017, making us the 9th largest exporter of ag goods among the 50 states. And our farmers and ranchers depend on being able to do that. And of course, what we're seeing right now is low commodity prices in our country, which is making it very difficult for our farmers and ranchers. And the best way to work out of that is with trade agreements that allows us to sell more globally. According to the ITC, when fully implemented, the USMCA will increase U.S. ag and food exports to Canada and Mexico by $2.2 billion. This agreement secures existing market access, makes ag trade fairer, increases access to the Canadian market, supports innovation in agriculture, and more, which is why it is so critical that we pass this legislation as soon as we can. By maintaining all zero tariff provisions on ag products, USMCA will secure crucial market access in Canada and Mexico for our farmers and ranchers. Canada and Mexico are critical markets for U.S. ag products. Some examples, Mexico, #1 buyer of U.S. corn and DDGs, distillers dried grains with solubles. Canada is the #2 buyer of U.S. ethanol. Additionally, Mexico is the number 2 buyer of U.S. soybean meal, oil, whole beans. Canada is the #4 buyer of soybean meal and the #7 buyer of soybean oil. So again, you're talking about two very, very large markets for our ag products, for our manufacturing products, for technology, two incredibly important trading partners. I can go on. Again, I want to be respectful of my colleagues here on the floor. I think, this is one of those cases where it's clear. This is absolutely beneficial to our country. And the point is, it's a bipartisan issue. I think whether you talk to members of the Senate here or the members of the House, they'll tell you this is a bipartisan issue. This is a trade agreement that's good for our country, and good for two very strong allies and neighbors, obviously Canada and Mexico, two very large trading partners. So with that, again, we've been down here on the floor before asking for the House to advance this legislation. If we could start the legislation here, we would. We'd pass it right now, and we'd pass it with a bipartisan vote. But it requires the House to get started, and I hope that all of our colleagues will visit with their counterparts from their respective states in the House and urge that this bill be brought to the floor, passed in the House, delivered to the Senate so that we can pass it for the President to sign and put it into effect for Americans across this great country. With that, thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor.